Good morning, welcome to the Alpha Female Lounge on Asake Online. My name is Pamela Mpofu and I am your host. Don't forget to follow us on social media platforms on Instagram, on Twitter, as well as on Facebook. On the show, we discuss social, economic, cultural, and political issues affecting young women in Matabeleland. Today, we are joined by an actress, a TV producer, a radio host, an MC, as well as a presenter. This is none other than Farai Magada, popularly known as Farai Jules. Farai, welcome to the show.
Hey Pam, how are you?
I'm good and you look great.
Thank you.
I just had to say.
Thank you, you look good too.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, so right into it. You are no stranger to the media circles, especially in Bulawayo. You're very popular. But what people don't know about you is that you were married off at 15.
Yep, I was.
So can you briefly take us through that?
Well, my journey started when I was 14, that was going on 15. And it started when my sister had a baby out of wedlock, and that is when I met my ex-husband. We're no longer together. And my sister had a child out of wedlock, and I can say her baby daddy. I can't say Utumkwenye Nawagi because they never ended up getting married. So he had a friend that was my ex-husband, and he was the one that used to come home, drop off the things for my niece and all that. And then that's how my mom and everyone in the family met him. So during the time, my mom was a little too friendly with him, and Konapo, there was that issue. I know he would come home, he'd eat. My mom would have conversation with him. He would even ask, like, "Oh, can you take the girls out?" And then my mom would agree, "Yeah, you guys can go out. You guys can have go for the bride, that thing." Because the relationship between my sister and her baby daddy it was the way, I can't say on and off, but for the sake of their daughter, they had to find common ground. So during the time, me and him, we would talk, of which, yes, he was way older than me, like 16 years difference. And I was like a child, is the right word. So when I turned 15, he was still coming home, talking to my mom, bringing stuff for my niece, and that relationship, talk. He said, "No, can you go to the girls?" And then my mom would say yes. So then one time, I don't know what really happened, but I felt as if my mom had conspired with my older sister, the one with the child out of wedlock. So then, Sahamba Sonke Wutle, that was my sister, there was the baby daddy, there was also my ex-husband there. Then we went in different cars. We went for an outing, and then the next thing, my sister and her baby daddy, they left, and then leaving me and him alone. We waited for them, we looked for them, his phone was off. Then my ex-husband was like, "You know what, let me just take you home. It's now getting late. I don't even know where your sister is." I thought maybe they were close by, and we've been waiting for them for hours. And they kept saying, "No, we're coming, we're just close by," and then the phone was now off. Then the next thing, I come home. The gate was open. I knocked the door was locked. I was like, okay, now what's going on now? Then I go by the window. I'm like, "Guys, can you open for me the door?" And then my mom was like, "Why don't you just go back where you're coming from?" I was like, "Go back where I'm coming from? Like, you know exactly where it was." And I was waiting for my sister. I was like, "Listen," I was waiting for, then I was like, "Oh, my sister was in the bathroom." She's like, "Yeah, sorry, I had come home and I left you guys there. So, Yazini, I thought maybe you guys wanted to spend more time together." I was like, "Spend more time together in what sense?" And then my mom was like, "You know what, I'm not going to open the door. I don't even know what happened that side. What if you're already pregnant?" I was like, "What? I didn't even sleep with him." And then my mom was like, "No, you're going to have to go back." And I was like, "All right, I can't sleep outside. I can't be sitting. It was cold." And I was like, "All right, let me go back outside." Then I go back outside. Then I see his car is still parked by my sister's baby daddy's house. And then I go to his car. He's like, "What are you doing here? Why aren't you at home?" And then I told him the story. He's like, "Oh, I was actually checking up on Ubani. This guy with Ukona in a sense, he just left. And I'm seeing his car is actually outside." Then I was like, "Okay." He's like, "He's not opening the door." And I was like, "Well, my mom told me to come back. It's impossible. Can I go reason with my mom?" I was like, "You're going to have to go talk to her because I don't know what happened." He goes, he tries to talk to my mom. My mom, Esa Windy, not by the door. Esa Windy, what is one and up? I'm fine. I'm not taking my daughter back. I don't even know what you did to her. And I'm going to tell the police so what you with a child that was underage. She threatened him. And then my ex-husband was like, "Okay, then what do I do?" I said, "You need to do what you have to do." And I was like, me, a wife. Oh, this feels weird. I thought my mom was joking. That's exactly what I assumed. Then he was like, okay, why don't we just wait for your mom to reason, because you can't sleep outside. Then I slept in the car. Then the next morning, sitting at Talaza, I wake up, then I'm hearing the gate is opening. My father wasn't around. And then my mom comes with a bag and goes, these are her clothes, so you're going to have to take her. I was like, wow. I was numb. I didn't even know what to say. And then he was like, look, I cannot take your daughter because she's underage. What? Oh, you're already with an underage child. So she's already your wife because I'm going to report you. And when my husband comes here, he's going to kill you. So you choose what you want. We sat there like for hours. That was now during the day. Time was just flying off. Oh, baby, what's going on, you guys? You guys seem like there's a misunderstanding. He tried to reason with my mom, and my mom was like, no, I'm not taking it back. Even my sister, they said, hey, it's impossible. Why does he even want to bring her back? Because he knows what he probably did bad things. So like, no, nothing happened to me, you see. I just want to come back home. And then I started crying, but my mom, she just didn't have it. She's like, I really don't care. I was like, wow, okay. And then he's like, okay, fine. Your mom is threatening to take me to the police. Rather, let me just take you home. You clean yourself up, and then maybe if your mom calms down, you go back home. Oh, I didn't know that was going to be 10 years of my life. From that day, I never went back home. So I was like, all right, so maybe my mom will take me back. Well, it didn't happen. And I was like, all right, let me try to be patient and try to reason with her. And I realized, you know what? She's not even going to budge at all. That's when I felt that bitterness and that anger. But why wouldn't she take me back? I mean, I'm still a child, And Lokono I would actually get up in the morning and go to school. And before Indaba in came out, the thing where by school there'd be the hisses, oh, did you know this and that is happening to Zvani? And Konapa, it was my last year, like Form 4. And the thing I would say, oh, do you know what was funny? This is what happened. Nobody confronted me. Even the teachers, they just kept quiet. No one said anything. And even in the neighborhood, people knew I was married at 15, but no one said anything. And I was like, okay, I assumed people would, come to me directly and ask me, are you okay? What are you going through? Nobody did. And I felt so alone. Even my own family, they just never cared, And that loneliness was just too much. Me going to school, coming back, I would even see my older sister, would talk, but she never used to talk about, how are you doing? How is everything going, Mom is saying this and that, Dad is saying this and that. And when my dad came back, he went on a row and wanted to come and to get me, and my mom refused. No, I'm not taking her back. Pela, this guy has to come and marry your daughter. You also married me when I was young, and there was all that drama valiantly. And then my dad eventually calmed down. And then my sister came, my older sister, we're still going to the same school, so okay. She was like, you know what? Dad was like, you guys, you have to make it official. So I'm going to keep my lobo. I was like, keep my lobo. I don't want to get married. But, he's threatening, and mom is the one that's fueling everything. We would say, if you don't lobola, it's not going to end up well for you. I was like, okay. All right. Then the swain is like, all right, I'll come in Guinea and I will, I'll lobola. And then he did come in Giti. And then my mom was like, all right, so made a peda and all that, of which she never called her relatives. And neither did my dad call his relatives. Would say, this is what's happening, auntie. And then she just called her close friends, and he also called his close friends, and then the ceremony was done. And I was like, all right, I thought a ceremony had to have, islobo and all that. But me being a child and being naive, it never registered upstairs with that's exactly what's happening. And so we made a like your family to actually be there with Pansi and all that. But it wasn't there. It just wasn't there. And then I was like, all right, now that I am now somebody's wife, I'm officially married. It never really hit me until that whole ceremony was happening, and that was going to be my life, which I'm going to be a wife, I'm going to be a mother, I'm going to be called Mrs. Zvani, And then that very year, I found out I was pregnant with my first daughter. That was in August. And then that's when I told my mom, like, you know what, I'm actually expecting my first child. I was actually happy, hey. I was like, oh, I'm going to have a baby. But you know, when you're a child, you don't know what to expect when you're having a child. And I was starting to ask myself, oh, what's my baby going to look like? And I was like, oh, all right, it looks like it's going to be a good thing. Then I tell my mom, and my mom wasn't happy about it. She was like, you know, you need to abort that child. I was like, I'm not going to abort. Why would I abort? It's like, no, you don't have to be in this marriage. You can just leave. And I'm thinking, okay, you guys married me off. Now you want me to leave this guy and you want me to abort. She went even as far as asking my cousin to bring everything for me to abort. And I was like, I'm not doing this. I'm keeping my child. And then the rift really started to grow. It just became even worse. So I was supposed to be writing my exams in November. And here I am pregnant and young. You know, the thing, I would say you realize, all right, now it's getting even more complicated now. And then he was like, why don't you just go home and you study a bit, because it's not easy. You're here, you have a husband, you have to take care of me, and you have to be studying for your exams. Why don't you go home and then you just, you know what, study. My mom very sitting here and you need to go back to your husband. I was like, why would I be going back to my husband? I need to study, right? And I need to be in an environment whereby I'm not stressed or anything. Then my mother was like, no, you're going to have to go back to your husband. I was like, okay. She even went as far as going to the police and then opened a case where to pay, like, this is statutory rape. You're the one who's raping my child, and so you're going to get arrested for this. He was arrested for it. And after he was arrested, my father was like, nah, I'm just going to withdraw the case, you know, because Indaba has gone out of hand. It even went as far as going into the newspapers. But my name, of course, wasn't there in the newspaper, but there was his name. And his reputation at work, it was now a really bad reputation. Oh, he's married to a very young woman, you know. And then that's when I really got so depressed and extremely suicidal. I think from that moment on, that's when I became so suicidal and extremely depressed. And I tried so hard to get over the depression. One, I'm pregnant. Number two, I'm so depressed and I'm alone and I'm suicidal. So the only thing that would stop me from being suicidal, it was my daughters. Like, what am I going to see when it comes to my daughters? I had to be strong for her. I was like, if she dies and I'm pregnant like this, she want to have a future, she want to have a chance. So I just had to be strong for her. And it was just so hard because I just knew that no one was going to stand up for her and she was going to be alone. And so that's the main reason why I was like, you know what, I'll just stay alive for her. Let me just stay alive for her. And I did stay alive for her. And every time I would look at her, it was so hard, you know? Like, okay, if only she knew that a lot of times I just wanted to just take my own life because I just couldn't take it anymore. I just couldn't. I never even told anybody. Once upon a time, I actually took pills and I knew I was going. There was always that voice like, Farai, you need to be strong for this child. Now that she is going to be coming, you know, I always used to cry because I didn't know what to do. I had nobody to talk to. I didn't know who to open up to because I felt judged. I felt alone. Nobody understood. Like, I'm going through all this. I write my exams and everybody's talking about me. And you know how hard it is when you're just a child and there's nobody to say, you know what, just leave her be. Just leave her be. But, well, it just wasn't there, you know. And then I gave birth to my first child, and kind of felt like things were getting better, but which I didn't realize was just going to get worse, you know. And that's when my parents left Zimbabwe, and I was left with my siblings, of which during that time, things were like really tough in Zim. Like, everything was just spiraling out of control. And my parents were like, you know, we're leaving. My mom left first, and then my father left later. And things were not looking good for them either. So I was like, you know what, let me just help out at home, you know. So make sure that I'll help everybody out. And I made sure that they had food, they had somewhere to stay, you know. If the rentals was a problem, well, my ex-husband would take care of everything. In as much as he hated my family and he wished he could just tell them, I'm doing this just because I have your daughter and your daughter has my child. I'm just doing this. You guys forced me to marry this girl, this person I'm being phony, you see. And the fact that I had to be introduced to his family later, that was when I had my daughter. And he tried to keep me a secret for a while, but well, no. You can't keep a secret of a child and a wife if you know what it's in the newspapers. Then his family later on found out okay, he is married to somebody young, and I was introduced to his family. And it wasn't easy because everybody would talk about me. And you could see the hisses, you could see the eyes, you could see the attitude. It wasn't easy for them to even accept me, Oh, she's from a Timberland, she's young, Her mom literally sold her off, and it just wasn't it took them a while to actually accept me. And I was like, all right, so I'm being accepted in a family of which my own family didn't even want me, So I tried to keep it to myself, and I was like, you know what, this is what it is, And then my family, most of them later on moved to South Africa. That's my sisters and my niece and my young brother as well. And I was left all alone this side. And that's when I had my second child. And I was still depressed. I wasn't even happy. I was miserable. That's a fact. I tried to hold on and get over all that depression, but I just couldn't. Even if I tried to open up to my ex-husband for him to understand that I am going through something that's hurting me, he just never cared. He's like, oh yeah, I suppose your mother sold you off. Do you really expect you to be okay, with life in general and this marriage to really work out, because it really is not going to work out. And I was like, all right, maybe if I just try to stay a little bit longer, maybe things would actually change. But well, it never did. Then that's when I had my third child. When I was pregnant with my third daughter, I was like, I can't do this anymore. I am miserable. When I look at the person that I want to be, I cannot be this person if I'm still married to this person. I wasn't given that opportunity to choose who I wanted to get married to. I wasn't given the opportunity to study what I wanted to study. I wasn't given that opportunity to choose where I want to go and who I want to be, you see, of which that really angered me. It took a long time for me to say, you know what, I need to be brave enough to walk away and choose what I want to be and where I want to go and everything else. Well, he thought I was, joking when I told him, look, I can't do this anymore. He called my parents in, and my parents came through. But before that, before I told him that I can't do this anymore, I had to go through my own journey of reflecting on forgiving my parents for what they did to me. It was so hard because I never talked to them for years. Like, it was almost 8 years. And I was like, why did they do this to me? They never gave me an explanation, even up until now. They never said anything. And I was like, listen, Mom, I'm hurting because of what you did. But it doesn't matter. I'm sorry for not being, for being bitter towards you, of which I never expected her to say I'm sorry to me. No, I didn't. Because, at the end of the day, I thought, be the bigger person. Forgiveness is not the other way around, where somebody has to come and say, I'm sorry. You forgive somebody by saying I'm sorry to them and letting go. So from that moment when I asked for forgiveness from her, I let go of all the bitterness, because it wasn't for her, but it was for me. For me to grow, for me to heal, for me to focus and redirect my energy and my thoughts, and focus on my daughters being the women that I want them to be, And I was like, someday I can have a little rift with my daughters, but the truth is, I wouldn't want them to come to me first and say I'm sorry because of my pride. I am the one that has to say, you know what, I did you wrong and I'm sorry. And my mother never did that to me. Of which I was like, okay, uhambilana with the generation gap and not understanding what sometimes as a person, if you're wrong, you are wrong. You just need to say I'm sorry. Yeah. And now I go back to the moment when I told my ex-husband that I couldn't do it anymore. Of course, my relationship with my parents was now mended up a bit. My father would call me. He would talk to me. My mother would also do the same, including my siblings as well. So we would talk. We would, to call each other, send each other things, and he would ask about my daughters, and yeah. And when I was pregnant with my third, that's when I say to him, look, I am not happy. I just want to go. And asked me, where are you going to go? You're pregnant. You have 2 daughters. You're expecting your third. You don't even have money on you. At the same time, you don't even have a college degree, nothing, or even a certificate. You're just you. That moment when I realized, okay, I'm actually alone. I got nothing. And I was like, wow, so 10 years of marriage, nothing. And then I gave birth to my third daughter. And after she was born, he thought maybe it was the hormones and me not wanting to, not wanting him around me. So he thought, well, maybe it's just the hormones, she'll come around, of which I had already made up my mind. And then it's like, all right, fine, you just take care of the kids if you want to take care of them. It's okay. I was like, okay, cool. And I just remained at our marital home and with our 3 daughters. And my parents came through. They tried to convince me to stay in my marriage. And my father was like, listen, it was actually my mom that was like, no, she needs to stay in a marriage. Where is she going to go with 3 children? She's not even educated. Another thing, she's got no one. And you expect me to take her in with the 3 kids. I already have her older sister and, her niece. I can't do this. Then my dad just sat down with my mom and is like, listen, when you've eaten a meal and you're so full, would you take another spoon and eat? And my mom said, oh no. And then he's like, she's done. Let her go. Let her let go. And I was like, okay, at least my dad defended me. And my dad was like, you deserve to be happy. He's like, what's your game plan? And I said, I don't have any. He's like, okay, I know you'll figure it out. I know it's not going to be easy. It's going to be hard. I mean, you got 3 daughters and you're all alone. And your ex-husband doesn't look like he even wants to lift a finger to even help you. And then I just said, okay, I'll see what to do. And then the day my ex-husband came and it's like, oh, it seems like the girls are a bit big, so my mom wants to see them. I was like, oh, not a problem. It's like, oh, she hasn't seen the last one, so can I take them to my mother's? And I was like, no, okay, can she just be almost 2 years? At least she'll be able to travel all the way to where? To Chipinge. He's like, okay, not a problem then. He takes the girls when she was almost 2. That was the last one. Well, she was very fond of her dad, so she never really had a problem with, and she wasn't a problem. So then the sisters also came through and they took the girls and then they traveled all the way. Me assuming it's a holiday, it's a December holiday, the next thing I'm being served summons. And I was like, why am I being served summons? Why do you want me to give up my girls? And that was the last time I saw my girls. I felt like the world was coming to an end one more time. When I just go back to that space, I just want to not go back there. Because it felt worse than during the time when I just say to him, why are you taking the girls from me? He's like, oh, you don't deserve to take care of my daughters because why should I be the one that maintains the children when you're with them? You want to gain being with those children. And I was like, no, but a child should be with their mom. They are less than 18. But no, he never understood that. And I tried to reason with my daughter because he's like, well, it's actually her that doesn't want to stay with you. The anger that I felt towards my daughter, like, why would she not want me to take care of her? And when I looked at the court summons, it was written, I'm a ruthless mother. I was like, if I was ruthless, I wouldn't be having any of them, right? I wouldn't have stayed, would I? And I felt like she didn't understand until my friend sat me down and she's like, you know what, Farai? Don't open the Pandora's box. You just bring bad luck on your daughters. You need to forgive her. She doesn't know anything. And I was like, okay, I'll let go of that. Because my anger was not towards my daughter, because it felt like she was the nail in the coffin to really crucify me there. Like, why would she say I'm a ruthless mother? Why? Of which I didn't realize, no, it's not her talking anymore. And then a friend of mine sat me down and is like, Farai, you need to pick yourself up. I'm not saying it's a good thing they're gone. No, it's not. It's not. It's hard because every memory in this house, you see them. You know where they touched. You know what they did. You need to let go. And I was like, who lets go of a child? Who? Like, when I look at my body, it tells me I'm a mother. When I look at every stretch mark I have, it's the pregnancies I had. They make me me. It really took me a while to gather myself, is the right word. And he was happy that, oh yeah, she's let go of trying to fight for them. And then that depression came back one more time, and I was suicidal. Like, when I would stand in town, I wouldn't feel anything, I wouldn't see anybody. I got to an extent where I met people in town would stop and say, don't cry, it's gonna be okay. And I would ask myself, why would you be talking to me? You're a mad person. You don't even know me. And once upon a time, a madman stopped and he said, your time is coming, you're a very beautiful woman, you've been crying. I was just standing in town and I was blank. It happened on 3 different occasions, and I was like, why would mad people be talking to me? I felt like I was gone. Like, I was not there anymore. Every time somebody would ask me, Farai, who are you? I didn't know who I was. I was lost. And I was like, okay. 1, certain years of my life were taken away from me. 2, the reasons why I lived were taken again. What am I even here for? I don't even have an option. Where are my options now? And my friend was like, you know what? You need to leave your home. The memories are the ones that keep on coming back. Why don't you come and stay with me for a while? And I stayed with her for a while. And she said, you now need to move out of that place. If you're going to get rid of everything, do so. And start from the bottom. And start from where you say, this is me. And you start building yourself. I didn't know what to do, honestly. And I didn't even know where to start. You know the thing when you feel so alone. And the only question you have is why. And nobody can answer that question. You feel even more angry. Like, but why am I going through all this over and over again? And then I say to myself, you know what? If I survived a certain ordeal that time in my life, I can survive this one. It's not going to be easy, but I have to. Because at the end of the day, it was about me having to believe in myself and look into myself as a person. And then that's when I said, okay, it's time to pick yourself up, Farai. I didn't love my name, of which my name means happy, happy, you know. And somebody always calling me by my daughter's names was all I knew. And now being called by my first name and having to appreciate that I am Farai, you know, I am happiness. That's what I am. It's supposed to be something that comes from inside.
Yes.
And I believe that happiness is a place. And from that time, I felt like the darkness had to be, you know, had to get out. Mm-hmm. And slowly but surely, I found myself getting out of that very dark place. Mm-hmm. I went back to that house. You know, I stood there by the gate and I looked at it and I said, you know what? It's time to go. I got in the house, I packed everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. And I got rid of everything. And I said, you know what? It's time to let go. It's time for me to start from the bottom. It's not going to kill me. There's certain women that have started from the bottom, but they still stand. It doesn't matter what it is, what people say, what people think. It's my story. I mean, they're going to have to deal with it, right? I'm not going to change exactly what happened, but well, this is what it is. I'm not living for anybody else, and I'm living for me. Mm-hmm. So from that moment on, when I chose to live for me, that's when my father came through, and he was like, I know you're all alone, and your sister is going to come and help you out and keep you company. I was like, why would she be keeping me company? I'm okay. He's like, no, you're not okay. You're troubled. I can feel it. I'm dreaming about you. And when I'm looking at you, you need someone. You need family. And I was like, okay, it's not a problem. And then my sister came through, and she stayed with me for a few months. Mm-hmm. During that time, I did feel that, you know what, I really needed somebody to talk to and somebody close to me. We talked, we laughed, and the depression, you know, it went away. And I remember telling her, you know what, I want to go back to school. And she's like, you want to go back to school? What do you want to do? I was like, I've always loved journalism. And she goes, you want to be a journalist? I was like, yeah, I've always wanted to be. I always used to tell my daughter I'm going to be a journalist, you know. And my daughter would be like, Mommy, you're going to be a good journalist. And she'd be like, oh, take a mic, Mom. Why don't you talk? You want to be like Oprah? I'm like, yeah, you know. And every time I would watch Oprah, she'd be like, that's you someday, you know. And I'll, you know. So every time I would listen to Oprah and her story, I realized, you know what? There is always hope. There is always hope. She got out of her situation because she believed and she fought. It never mattered where she was from. It never mattered what she looked like. Now, right now, look at where she is today. She is a very powerful woman, respectable and all that. And then in my case, I looked at my own background. I was like, where am I going to start? You know, I know I've always wanted to study journalism, but obstacles all the time. I'll tell my ex-husband, look, I want to study journalism. He'll be like, no. You'd rather be a teacher? It's like, nah, I'd rather sit down than be a teacher until the day comes and I'll become the journalist that I've always wanted to be. And when I told my sister I'm going to study journalism and media, she's like, oh, cool. Why don't you look for a college and you go and enroll? I was like, okay, no problem. That's when I went and enrolled, and well, there was no, the journalist class had practically nobody. So I had to opt for film and television, of which it was equally as, you know, good.
Yes.
So, yeah, and my sister was like, you know what, I think my time here is up. I think you are now okay. You're no longer very depressed. You don't feel alone. I mean, because I wasn't eating, and she had to cook for me. She had to make sure 3 times a day I ate. I was clothed, I was sleeping, and I looked good. She always made sure of that. So yeah. I was like, yep, I really needed somebody to, you know, to hold my hand as well and comfort me. And also needed somebody to also, you know, tell me it's going to be okay. And every time she would reassure me, you'll be fine. You're a strong girl. You survived more than that. So here we are.
May I just indicate that you're a strong woman? Like, I think you're an epitome of strength, because you're not just strong because of the way you carry yourself, the way you handle your emotions and you embrace your emotions and where you're coming from and where you are right now. Now, your relationship with your parents, especially your mother, mm-hmm. because like you said, it takes a lot to forgive. It's not about the other person, it's about you. Mm-hmm. What point, like for you, do you want to say, me and my mother can sit down? Or have you guys sat down about it and she has explained to me, Farai, I did this to you because of A, B, C, D. Mm-hmm. Is it still something that you really want to do with your mother? Or you've gotten to a point where you're saying, it's now water under the bridge, I'm just moving over it?
Honestly, it's there where I wish she could sit me down. Mm-hmm. I don't expect her to say I'm sorry. No, I don't. At least tell me why. Because I was just a child. I just didn't know why she did it. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't like the way people always shift the blame on other people, of which at the end of the day, you need to acknowledge what you did to somebody and say, you know what, I was wrong, you know. Mm-hmm. And I know it takes a lot for somebody to acknowledge that they're also wrong as well. So of which I say to myself, okay, if her time has come for her to actually say, I'm sorry I did this and that to you, or without the I'm sorry, but I did this and that to you because of certain reasons, mm-hmm. I am waiting for that day, honestly. I am.
Of course you will. And marriage is not easy, from what I hear, because I'm not married. You were so young, at an age where you should be enjoying like being a child, playing around. And you were deprived of growing up in a normal setup. How did you find your way, like being someone's wife, someone who doesn't love you in that way, and someone you don't love? How did you navigate your way between being someone's mother, being a school child, being a wife?
You know, it wasn't that easy to juggle those two things. Because if you know that you're not loved, you don't push for it.
Yeah.
You just don't push for it. You know, okay, I'm here because of certain reasons. And I never understood what marriage was, because there was nobody that sat me down and said, you know what, if you're going to be married, Farai, you're going to have to do point A, point B for your husband. When I got a little bit older, of course, there's other women that are older that would be like, oh, okay, this is what you do when you're married. You know, even my own mother-in-law wasn't there to say, oh, you know, Madugazana, this is what you do when you're married. No, nobody was there. I had to assume that's what marriage had to be, you know. And I would also ask other women, so what do you guys do? Like, oh no, you need to do this and that, you know, for your husband. You need to take care of your husband in this manner. You need to behave like this as a wife, you know. And along the way, when I look at my own mistakes during the marriage, I'm like, okay, it's because I didn't know. I wasn't guided. Nobody was there to say, you know what, you need to do that and that for your marriage to actually work. And when it comes to a child, of course, there was a little test run when it comes to my niece. I mean, she was there. You'd know how to wash a baby, how to feed a baby, how to make sure that the baby is well fed, taken care of, and in a good health, in a good health state. And of which, yeah, you read as well, like, oh, okay, so this is what happens when you're supposed to take care of a baby. Okay. Of course, number 2 became better because number 1 was the test run. Number 3, of course, it was like a walk in the park. Well, I was like, come on, I've done it more than 2 times. I've done it 2 times already. This is my 3rd child. I know exactly how to do it. And when I look at me being deprived of all that, when I was not divorced, it felt like I was going back to being a teenager, and then starting back again in my 20s, and then now I'm in my 30s. And you can imagine when all that is pushed back, whereby you feel like, all right, even the way I'm dating people, if the guys that I'm dating, 1, number 2, the things that I do, okay, teenager will do this, not an adult my age will be doing this, because you won't be knowing, and then you go back to being young, and then pushed back, fast forward to being an adult, of which I appreciate such a journey because it takes me back and forth, you know. And during that, me going back, there was that emancipation, and then that regrowth one more time, like having to grow, and then also finding yourself. And okay, the mistakes that I made when I was married, the mistakes that I made when I started dating, the mistakes that I'm making right now. Okay, as I'm getting older, so there's certain things I'm not supposed to be doing, certain things I'm supposed to do, you know.
You guys can also continue with this conversation on social media, on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, as well as on YouTube, where you can air your views. If you have any stories to tell, you can continue the conversation there. Don't forget to follow us on those social media platforms. You can also follow me on social media platform at The Media Babe on Instagram and Pamela Mpofu 1 on Twitter. Until next week, thank you for joining us on the Alpha Female Lounge.